Another quote from Sri Yukteswar. When rested by pranayama practice, the nervous system is refreshed. If one daily rests the nervous system in this way, the physical body is vitalized. Life and death come under the control of the yogi who perseveres in the practices of pranayama. Specifically, he's writing about Kriya pranayama here. So when rested by Kriya pranayama practice, the nervous system is refreshed. If one daily rests the nervous system in this way, the physical body is vitalized. Life and death come under the control of the yogi who perseveres in the practice of Kriya pranayama. In this final fourth section of this discussion, we're going to review essentially 4 basic points which allow you to gain the benefits of your spiritual growth process. And again, we're going to be quoting from Roy Eugene Davis. So appropriately chosen, concentrated spiritual practices quickly remove physical and mental obstacles to our innate urge to have our awareness restored to wholeness. Spiritual practices are appropriate when they are compatible with our psychological temperament and our needs. Some devotees are inclined to be devotional. Others are inclined toward the intellectual discernment approach to self and God knowledge, or to meditative contemplation, or a life of selfless service. A balanced, integrated mode of spiritual practice is best. So we have to recognize our temperament. However, we do need to recognize that the mechanics or the central theme of spiritual practice is going to be the same despite our temperament. If our temperament is devotional, what are we doing? We're tapping into our capacity for devotion to learn to hold our awareness, to focus our attention on that object of devotion. That stills the mind, focuses our attention. If we practice intellectual discernment, or if we practice selfless service or contemplation, then our attention goes specifically, directly rests upon the service we are giving. So we see the mechanics, the theme of it is focused attention. If we're contemplating, if we're practicing discernment, it's the same thing. We're letting everything else fall away except for that one point of focus that we have. How we do it is related to our temperament, but it leads to the same kind of experience. Mr. Davis writes 4 points. Nurture devotion to God until your awareness is so merged in God that no perception of otherness remains. So you nurture your devotion to God until your awareness is so immersed in God that no perception of otherness remains. So if you have a devotional practice through chanting or divine singing or simply meditating upon your chosen representation of divinity, you want to sink your awareness so fully in it that anytime a distraction arises, you cast it off. In the same way that if you had someone that you love deeply and profoundly with you in front of you, you're aware of nothing else. You give your full attention to them. You can nurture your devotion to God through meditation. You can treat your work as though that is devotion to God, then you sink your whole attention into that work. If you're with a loved one, you can see that loved one as God, divine consciousness, and then give your full attention to that other person. And in that way, you are nurturing devotion such that nothing else is in your mind. You're not aware of. You're not even capable of thinking of anything else. Number 2, use your powers of discriminative intelligence to accurately discern the difference between your pure conscious nature and ordinary states of awareness. To have insight into the reality of God and to make knowledgeable choices. So you start being discerning. You start using your intelligence, developing your intelligence. Some of us aren't that smart. So we have to develop our intelligence, develop our discrimination. And what is that? You've heard teachers often say things like they meditate on, I am not this, I am not that, not this, not that. And what is left? I'm not this personality, I'm not this body, I'm not these experiences, I'm not this past, I'm not this future, I'm not these relationships. If you can really sink your energy and attention into that, So you will be developing discriminative intelligence to accurately discern your pure conscious nature. Because what is left after you're not anything that you can perceive or experience is your reality. That takes intensity and attention, but it's well worth it. Meditate every day until your thoughts and feelings are calm and you are established in transcendent superconsciousness. So going back to Sri Yukteswar's quote, when rested by Kriya Pranayama practice, the nervous system is refreshed. If one daily rests the nervous system in this way, the physical body is vitalized. Life and death come under the control of the yogi who perseveres in the practice of Kriya Pranayama. Of course, we remember the times we don't practice Kriya Pranayama, for those of you who wanted to learn Kriya Pranayama but decided to skip the video on when not to practice Kriya Pranayama. You don't practice when you're mentally, emotionally disturbed, when you're too tired, when you're sick, when you're pregnant, or when you're menstruating. At other times, those other times, you can practice mantra meditation or simple breath awareness. But when you meditate however you need to, such that your thoughts and feelings become calm, then you naturally experience a transcendent superconscious state. And going back through the previous 3 sections of this talk, there is a theme of learning to let go of everything else and simply hold your awareness within. Let your meditation do that. If thoughts persist, if memories persist, if emotions persist, give greater attention to your devotional practice or to your mantra or to your pranayama, having the sense that every time that you engage that technique, that it either throws out or dissolves or casts away or banishes these distractions. And eventually, you will simply rest and abide in that self. Number 4, live effectively yet selflessly. Be inwardly calm at all times. Be curious. Continue to learn. Efficiently fulfill wholesome desires and accomplish worthwhile purposes. Do your best to live a good life for yourself and for others. Practice contentment. This comes up in the Yoga Sutras, in Vasista's Yoga, numerous texts. Contentment is its own reward. And that will teach you to meditate better as well. Be curious. Continue to learn. Efficiently fulfill wholesome desires and accomplish worthwhile purposes. Mr. Davis writes that these guidelines are for everyone who sincerely aspires to total well-being and liberation of consciousness. Paramahansa Yogananda often advised disciples, while you are swimming, you can help others learn to swim. Mr. Davis interprets this to mean, while you are engaged in right living and spiritual practice, to the extent that it is possible, assist others to do likewise. These are ways to help nurture and improve your capacity for spiritual realization and spiritual growth. We'll conclude with a quote from Paramahansa Yogananda. God's will, or evolutionary inclinations, will be accomplished whether you choose to participate with it or not. But when you do participate with it, your spiritual growth is quickened. So Yogananda, he said, God's will, or evolutionary inclinations, will be accomplished whether you choose to participate with it or not. But when you do participate with it, your spiritual growth is quickened. I hope you've enjoyed this series. This was based on an article by Roy Eugene Davis, which was published in the Radiance magazine, which is published quarterly for Kriya Yoga initiates through the Center for Spiritual Awareness. So if you have, if you've been initiated through Center for Spiritual Awareness, you probably already get this. But those of you who do participate in the retreats through Center for Spiritual Awareness and have been initiated by Mr. Davis or his successors, you are able to get quarterly mailings of this. And it's been a wonderful anchoring publication for the entire time that I've known about, practiced Kriya Yoga. So it's well worth it. So be well, and I wish you the best on your awakening path.